What do you get when you combine James Harden, Scott Foster, and horrendous Sacramento Kings three-point shooting? One of the most unwatchable basketball games you will ever see. It might be historic. This Sacramento Kings loss to the Clippers was painful with the exception of like 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, and we're here to break it down right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And while I'm very thankful to have my job and very thankful to be able to come to the Golden One Center for every single Sacramento Kings game and to be here for free, I wish I could take tonight back. I wish I had done something else with my time because this basketball game was a brutal watch for a number of different reasons that kept kind of changing and evolving throughout the game. The only thing consistent about this game, there are two things that were consistent about this game. Number one, the Sacramento Kings couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat from three-point range tonight. And number two, Scott Foster and his officiating crew are horrendous, right? Just whistle after whistle, foul after foul. I'm sure that's what the NBA wants. The Sacramento Kings sold out the Golden One Center, and everybody who paid to attend tonight's game wanted to hear more whistles and see more whistles than made baskets. They were here for the referees. They were here for you, Scott Foster. What a horrendous game, and the pace of this game was terrible, and it started from the very beginning. Look, Scott Foster by himself is already tough. Scott Foster plus James Harden, who I've said this before and I'll say it again, James Harden is my absolute least favorite player to watch in the league, maybe of all time. I cannot stand watching James Harden play. Now, I'm not saying this just to hate on the guy because he's had a tremendous career and had some incredible moments throughout his career and is a Hall of Famer for sure. James Harden's foul-baiting way of playing is excruciating to watch in person. And now, before Clipper fans in attendance or who are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast start screaming at me about DeMar DeRozan and how much DeMar DeRozan gets to the line, DeMar DeRozan does not foul bait the same way that James Harden does. DeMar DeRozan actively goes up to shoot and he just gets fouled because defenders think that they can block his shot. James Harden actively seeks out contact, flails, flops, and does whatever he can to get that whistle and get to the line. And I give him credit because he's an absolute master at it. He's made a career out of it. So good for him. But from my standpoint as a viewer, and I would feel this way if I was rooting for the Clippers and following the Clippers, I would hate it. I have hated the way James Harden has played from his time in Houston, his time in Philadelphia, now in Los Angeles. Has nothing to do with the Clippers and everything to do with Harden. Because look, I'll be honest with you, right? The Sacramento Kings actually drew more fouls than the Clippers did in this game. The Sacramento Kings shot one more free throw than the Clippers did. So I'm not going to say, I said this in the first quarter, but it changed throughout the rest of the game. I'm not going to say that, this is just the Clippers brand of basketball. God, the Clippers brand of basketball sucks. It's just James Harden's brand of basketball. And I feel bad for people who pay top dollar to go into the Intuit Dome and sit in that amazing wall and watch James Harden foul bait for an entire game. It's just a rough watch, man. In the first quarter, De'Aaron Fox actually started this game defending James Harden. And Fox was called for 2 fouls within a couple of minutes. And then Keegan Murray switched on to James Harden. First possession of that, Keegan Murray fouled James Harden from three-point range, right? The Kings were in the penalty with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. The Clippers shot 11 of 11 from the free throw line in their 34-point first quarter. That was the only quarter that either team scored more than 30 points in this game. It was a low-scoring, ugly, stupid, terrible-paced game. at least the Kings somewhat adjusted, and the Clippers only shot 13 more free throws for the remainder of the game. So I guess credit to the Kings there, and that's why I say it's more of like a James Harden style of basketball than it is a Clippers style of basketball, because the Clippers didn't just rely on getting to the foul line every single possession to score 107 points and win this game against the Sacramento Kings. Norman Powell had a fantastic game, and the Clippers were able to do what the Sacramento Kings could not, and that's knock down 3-point shots. 3 of 26. The Sacramento Kings made 3 of 26 threes. That is one of the worst shooting performances, I'm sure, in Kings history. It might be one of the worst shooting performances in NBA history. And it's certainly the worst shooting performance in the Mike Brown era of the Sacramento Kings. That's 11%. Technically 11.5% if you want to be generous and round it up to 12. Be my freaking guest. Doesn't make me feel any better. 11%. De'Aaron Fox had 2 threes. Keon Ellis had 1. There was a gap from the 5:23 mark in the second quarter to the 5:17 mark of the fourth quarter, where the Kings did not make a single three-pointer. My God. The Kings entered tonight's game 27th in three-point shooting. I'm sure that number is dropped. If that number is not like 29th or 30th after tonight, I'll be pretty amazed. This team sucks from three-point range. And it goes back to the preseason too when they couldn't hit a three-point shot. This team is not good from 3, and it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And look, I know it's only 9 games of the regular season. I know there's still plenty of time for the Kings to figure it out. But here is why this game and this poor shooting goes beyond just a slump for me. Number one, it's team-wide. It's like infected this team. It is an infection. The same way DeMar DeRozan coming to Sacramento suddenly solved Sacramento's free throw shooting issues, because this Kings team is suddenly really, really good at shooting free throws. I'm not saying DeRozan came in and infected the Kings with his bad three-point shooting, because DeRozan's been one of the better three-point shooters on this Kings team this season. This Kings team can't shoot, and they're generating good looks. And again, the reason why this goes beyond just a slump to me is this: not the number 3 made threes. It's the number 26 attempts. The Kings are shooting fewer and fewer threes. On the surface, you're saying, yeah, they're not falling, so they're not going to shoot as many. But to me, that's because this team is hesitating. Mike Brown, you're going to hear in a second, Mike Brown talked about the hesitation that the Sacramento Kings are showing from three-point range. This team is scared to shoot the 3. They have lost confidence in that three-point shot because they've been generating good looks all preseason and regular season long, and with the exception of like that second half in Miami, this Kings team cannot shoot. Their confidence is low. And every time you talk to them, and you're going to hear from DeMar DeRozan here in a second. Every time you talk to these Kings players or coaches or whatever about this three-point shooting to start the season, it's the same response. They're going to start falling eventually. I know the fix of shooting or going through a shooting slump is to keep shooting. But when you're continuing to shoot, when you do keep shooting, you keep missing. And you're not continuing to shoot because you're shooting less and less threes. You're shooting only 26 threes in tonight's game. This goes beyond just a slump for me because the Sacramento Kings confidence from three-point range is rattled. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. If the Sacramento Kings cannot figure out a way to knock down three-point shots at a somewhat respectable clip, it's going to hamstring and limit what is supposed to be a very versatile and dangerous offense. And even without this three-point shooting this season, the Kings offense is still one of the best in the league. They're still a 5-win, 4-loss team, so they're still very good. I think I should be excited about the fact that they can be better than they are offensively, and the offense has already looked this good for the most part. I know tonight they scored 98 points. But for the most part this season, the offense has looked good, and that's been without that three-point shooting. But as much as I want to look at that from a glass half full perspective, I also have to acknowledge the glass half empty, which is, when will these shots start falling? Because every team is daring the Kings to beat them from three-point range, and more often than not, it's allowing them to, at worst, stay in the game. But that's been a consistent theme of the 4 losses that the Kings have suffered this season. They cannot shoot from 3, and tonight was worst of all. Here is Kings head coach Mike Brown, DeMar DeRozan, and De'Aaron Fox all talking about the three-point shooting tonight.
The biggest thing, is a three-point line. We only took 26 threes, but there were 2 things with it. The first one, I thought we hesitated on a lot of threes. We should have probably shot 35 to 43s the way they play defense.
They're going to fall. We just got to find a rhythm, not hesitate. A lot of shots I think we hesitated. And there was a lot of opportunities we could have generated easier shots for one another, but, it's just all about the rhythm. Once we have string a couple games together, shooting the ball well, we'll be fine.
One thing Jay Triano always says is take the hezzy out of your game. Not like a hezzy dribble, but when you're catching the ball and you should shoot it, and then you second thought, or if you that's because a lot of times that can be the best shot that we're probably going to get in a possession. Whenever you give up a great shot, most possessions kind of turn into shit. So as a team, you have to try to get the hezzy out of your game. If you have a shot, you need to take it.
Like I said at the top of the show, today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action on demand whenever you want. With over 10 million members and literally billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. So the way it works, right? You could have played PrizePicks tonight. It would have been like De'Aaron Fox, more or less than 27.5 points. Well, let's say you took more on that. You won tonight. Norman Powell, more or less than 22.5 points. He got more than that, so you hit that as well. Let's say you add one more in there. Domantas Sabonis, more or less than 13.5 rebounds. You took less. Okay, you hit that tonight. Again, depending upon the amount of money you put and the amount of picks that you make, you can earn a lot of money and use that basketball IQ, use that Kings IQ to your advantage. There's so many fun and creative ways to play on PrizePicks. I'm already having a blast playing again this season. Had a great time and had a lot of success last season. I'm hoping for the same, although I'll be honest with you, had a bit of a rough start to the season so far on PrizePicks. Sign up today and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers incredible weekly promotions that can lead up to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, for example, every single Tuesday. So go on to PrizePicks right now and make sure you use our promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode of Locked On Kings is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all of your NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place bets on the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college athletics, you name it, it's there on FanDuel all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you think you know how the game's going or how a certain quarter's going to go or a player's going to get hot or whatever the case may be, you can check out live stats, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets. It's all right there in front of you on FanDuel.com. Make sure you join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win that first $5 bet. So pick the easiest, most surefire bet you can find, put $5 on it. There's $150 in bonus bets that you win to really have fun on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I got a question for everybody out there. What in the hell has happened to the Kings bench? Can we even say the Kings have a bench? It's Malik Monk, it's Keon Ellis, and then nothing. Nothing. Like, Mike Brown is not going to take the podium and say he's lost confidence in his bench, or he's never really had confidence in his bench to begin with. But his actions speak louder than his words, right? He is not playing his bench. Once again, high minutes for his top 4 guys. 39 minutes for both DeMar DeRozan and Keegan Murray. 37 minutes for De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. This is not sustainable. And the Kings felt that they had to do it tonight. The Kings feel like they have to do that most nights, unless the game is out of hand, like the end of that Toronto game. So the Kings, like Sabonis only played like 33 minutes because he got to rest the final 6 or 7 minutes because that game was over at that point in time. This Kings bench and their depth is non-existent. They were outscored 25-20 tonight. All 20 points scored by Malik Monk and Keon Ellis. And really, 17 of those were scored by Malik Monk. He was their bench tonight. 17 points, 6 of 13 from the field, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, played 31 minutes. Played really well, helped with some energy in that second half to try and get the Kings back into that game. He had that monster tomahawk slam in the second half to finally wake this Kings team up and wake the Golden One Center up and help the Kings come back. And we'll talk about that comeback in a minute. They were down like 16 points in the fourth quarter and had a chance to win. And as much as I want to enjoy that, it's really difficult tonight. Their bench is a large reason because of it. Nobody really is playing well in that second unit. But if I have to single anybody out, it's Trey Lyles. I don't know what's happened to Trey Lyles. It feels like Trey Lyles has not been the same consistently since he got that contract at the end of that first season in Sacramento when he played really, really well off of the bench. And he earned that contract, especially with how he played in the playoffs as well. I know last season Trey dealt with nagging injuries, especially to start the season. This season, Trey missed all of training camp because of the injuries that he was dealing with. But dude is really, really tough to watch. And it sucks because I'm such a fan of Trey Lyles, and I know how important he is to that second unit. Trey Lyles tonight, 0 of 3 from the field, 0 of 2 from three-point range. The one 2-point field goal he missed was like a layup at the rim. Also had 2 rebounds, only played 6 minutes. Trey Lyles should be playing way more than 6 minutes a night, but he's not because Mike Brown doesn't think he's worthy of that time, because he's been borderline unplayable when he's been in the game. He's not bringing you anything. He's not adding anything to this team. This season, again, only 9 games, but God almighty, 3.5 points per game. He's shooting 27% from the field, 24% from three-point range, and averaging just under 3 rebounds a game. Trey Lyles is like, that is not worth the $8 million or whatever per year that Trey Lyles is making for this Kings team. Now, I'm not saying get rid of the guy. I'm not saying don't play the guy, because the Kings need him, right? They do not have a better option. They need Trey Lyles to wake the hell up and help get this bench consistent again and give these starters a break. Because while they're able to carry this heavy load right now, and the Kings more often than not are winning games, they're 5-4. By the time we get to game 50, game 60, if these guys are playing 36, 37, 38 minutes a night, they're going to be gassed. And already Kings players are playing hurt. De'Aaron Fox playing with a hurt hand, and there's nothing he can do about it. He's playing through it. But honestly, if this Kings bench does not start to figure things out in the next couple of weeks, Monty McNair might need to seriously consider making an early trade, because this bench is awful and they need help. I have no idea what that trade is. I have no idea what they could trade to bring in the players they're looking for. I know you could call the Brooklyn Nets and try and get like a Cam Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever. There are names out there for sure that the Kings could go out and target. And they might not be able to wait until the trade deadline to go and get that bench depth and that help if this continues. Because this second unit has been horrendous for the Kings. That, or Devin Carter better be ready to go and better be freaking great by the time he is cleared to play. But we're talking like January at that point, and we're talking a rookie who's never played a second of NBA action before, and you're going to lean on him to rescue your bench? We'll see. Again, I really want to appreciate the Kings comeback more, because, again, like no matter what, it just feels like the Kings are never out of a game. Down 16, and they had a chance to win this in the fourth quarter. They came roaring back. I want to celebrate that, and I want to enjoy that, but I'm having a hard time doing it, right? They found a lot of success with their half-court trap. As soon as whether the Clippers were inbounding the ball or as soon as they would cross the half-court line, the Sacramento Kings would blitz them, and they're doing a really, really good job blitzing and forcing turnovers in that fourth quarter, which is what allowed them to get back into the game. So I appreciate that from the Kings. De'Aaron Fox tonight, it did not feel like Fox played well, and he still led the Kings with 31 points, 12 of 20 from the field, 2 of 5 from three-point range. The scoring numbers were fine for Fox. 7 turnovers, not fine. De'Aaron had a really tough time taking care of the basketball, and I do really think his hand is bothering him. James Ham asked him about his hand after the game. I think it was James that asked him about his hand after the game. And De'Aaron kind of shrugged it off and said, like, it is what it is. I can't take a month off. There's nothing I can do. If I can play, I'm going to play. But if this hand is bothering him, like he's averaging like 4 turnovers a game to start this season. That is not good. So the Kings need Fox to clean that up, of course. It's not all on him. Again, I looked up at the scoreboard and was like, oh my God, De'Aaron Fox had 29 points. De'Aaron Fox had 31 points. And he played pretty solid, like had 7 points in the first quarter. Like, I know Fox was definitely the best player for the Kings tonight, but that's not saying much because the Kings as a whole were just not good this evening. And then, of course, what did the Kings in that fourth quarter when they finally did come back? What was the nail in the coffin for Sacramento? 3-pointers. The Kings couldn't make any. And the Clippers shot 14 of 30, 46% from three-point range tonight. And were 4 of 5 from three-point range in the fourth quarter, led by Norman Powell, who had 5 3-pointers just by himself. Norman Powell had almost twice the amount of three-pointers that the Sacramento Kings as a team had tonight. This not being able to hit threes while your opponent more often than not is shooting 40+% from three-point range, it's going to be the death of this Kings team and their chances to make any kind of serious noise in any kind of deep playoff run if they cannot clean this stuff up and figure some stuff out. We have to talk about DeMar DeRozan. His streak came to an end tonight. Domantas Sabonis is well into another streak of his. And if we're looking for someone to blame for tonight, I have that person. It's going to get me in trouble, but I have that person to blame. I'll tell you all that and explain in just a second. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by SKIMS. SKIMS makes underwear. And underwear is an undeniable part of our life, right? You know, they say like you have to spend a lot of money on the quality of your mattress because of the amount of time that you spend sleeping. I look at underwear the same way, right? We spend pretty much every day and every minute of our lives in underwear, or at least I hope you do. And we need to make sure that we're comfortable and we're taken care of. There is not a better brand out there than SKIMS. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm wearing SKIMS right now. I'd show you, but I want to keep my job. SKIMS, they're unbelievably comfortable. They're breathable. They're perfect in the summer, not too hot, but nice and toasty and get the job done in the winter as well. Like I have tried, now that I've tried SKIMS and I've been wearing SKIMS now for about 3 or 4 weeks and bought like 2 or 3 pairs, I immediately went and bought like 4 or 5 more pairs. Like this is it. This is all I can have. Everything else is getting tossed out. There's so many different options, like their cotton briefs or their stretch briefs, right? So many different types of SKIMS underwear that you can wear to fit your comfort and how you want to wear your underwear. Make sure you shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. And of course, SKIMS has great underwear for the ladies in your life as well. Let them know that Locked On Kings sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select Locked On Kings in the drop-down menu that follows, so they know that we're the ones that sent you to SKIMS. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, SKIMS just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Nothing's cuter than wearing matching holiday underwear or matching holiday pajamas, right? You can all find it on skims.com. Unfortunately, DeMar DeRozan's streak of 20-plus points in a game to start his career as the Sacramento Kings came to the end, and it's still a historic 8 straight games, which passed Chris Webber's 7. But tonight, no dice for DeRozan. 13 points, 5 of 12 shooting from the field, 6 assists, a couple of steals. It's not that DeRozan played bad. He wasn't great. He wasn't really good at a lot of times either. He, like the entire Sacramento Kings offense, was pretty much just stuck in the mud tonight. Now, DeMar DeRozan, I think he went 0 of 1 from three-point range, or maybe 0 of 2. DeRozan is not the reason why the Kings shot terribly from three-point range, but with the struggle for Kings shooting and how much the Kings were trying to emphasize mid-range shots and taking a bunch of tough mid-range shots because that three-point shot wasn't falling, that certainly got to DeMar DeRozan tonight. Domantas Sabonis, his double-double streak reached 8 straight games now. Tonight he had 23 points, 9 of 12 shooting from the field, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. It is his 341st double-double of his career, and he's had 162 of them already with the Sacramento Kings. Some incredible numbers there. The Kings, speaking of numbers, the numbers say that the Kings failed miserably in several key areas tonight. Several key areas of emphasis. The first one I'm going to talk about will not surprise you if you've been listening to Locked On Kings over the course of the season. Offensive rebounds. It's been a major focus and a major strength for the Kings. The Kings only had 5 offensive rebounds tonight. Just 5. They lost the second chance points battle to the Clippers 18-7. They were demolished in terms of second chance points, and they were demolished on the glass period. They were out-rebounded by the Clippers 48-7. to 35. Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis did a fair share of the rebounding. Nobody else really got that involved. The Kings did have the advantage in fast break points, but not nearly enough. Only a 10-7 fast break point advantage. The Kings were not getting out in transition nearly enough, especially considering how many times they were turning the Clippers over. The Kings turned the Clippers over 7 more times than the Kings turned the ball over themselves. So I had a big advantage there, but they only scored 2 more points than the Clippers off of turnovers. So a rough game in a lot of the key areas of focus for Sacramento. But I have an outlet for your frustration. I have an outlet for your blame. Although I ask, please don't contact this person directly and don't look up their information. My wife, Brittany, has literally never seen a Kings win in person. Literally never. Every single time she's come to a Kings game, they have lost. So here's my question. Married Sacramento Kings fans out there. I mean, everybody can weigh in, but I'm going to take the married opinions more. Do I have to ban her from games? Do I have to do that? Like, I know it's like till death do us part, but it might be till death and the Sacramento Kings lose to do us part. Because I want her to see it through, right? I want her to finally see a victory and see a beam in person because she's never gotten to. But god dang, never seen a Kings win. She's been to like 5, 6, maybe 7 games in the time that we've been together. 0 of 7. Come on. We can blame her. Let's just do it. Let's just blame her. It's her fault. Kings would have beat the Clippers by 45 points tonight if my wife were not in attendance. There. Feel better? That's going to... Hopefully she never watches this podcast or listens to that because that's not going to go well for me. The Sacramento Kings head back out onto the road. Quick 2-game homestand for the Kings. They go 1-1. At least they beat the Raptors. Back onto the road for a tough back-to-back. They got the Phoenix Suns on Sunday and then the San Antonio Spurs on Monday. Hopefully the Kings can get both of them. They should be getting one out of those 2. Obviously, the more gettable game out of the 2 is San Antonio, but I'm looking forward to this Phoenix Suns game specifically because this is that first, actually, that's not true because they played the Lakers and they played the Timberwolves, who are, I guess, upper echelon teams in the West. But the Suns look fantastic. Fantastic to start this season. They're a team that's a title favorite, not just in the West, but in the NBA period. So that's going to be a good measuring stick of where the Sacramento Kings are. And I promise you, if the Kings aren't... the Kings got to find a way to make some freaking threes in that game if they want to have a chance. We'll see if they can do it. No matter what, I'll have another post-game Locked On Kings podcast for you, hopefully after a Kings win in Phoenix and a Kings win in San Antonio. Then the Kings come home for a little more home cooking, and maybe they can get something going in this building. Appreciate your support, as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of the Locked On Kings podcast. Until then, my name is Matt George. Subscribe to the Locked On Kings newsletter. I found out that we are number 3 in overall subscriptions behind the Dallas Mavericks and Utah Jazz. Let's catch both of those. And by the way, we're blowing the Lakers and the Celtics out of the freaking water. So I love you for that. Thanks for making that happen. If you haven't subscribed, it's completely free. You'll find the link in the description below. Go and subscribe to the newsletter. You'll have Kings news. You'll have an article written by me delivered to your inbox Monday through Friday. It's right there for you for free, so go and check that out. Appreciate you. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.